Welcome back to the Agent Stories podcast. Today, I am joined here with Wendy. She is down from the New Orleans area, and not only is she a super mom, okay, not only is she an animal lover, but she's also an amazing realtor with a quite a cool story of how she started real estate. And so, Wendy, I'm super excited to chat with you here today. Why don't you kind of introduce yourself and share how you kind of got into real estate in the first place?
Sure. Well, I'm Wendy Wiltz. I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. Lived here pretty much all my life, with the exception of two periods where I lived in the New York area and also Chicago. But as everyone, returned back home where, your heart and all the love is. I got my real estate license beginning of January 2020. So literally like January 6th. The start of COVID, and I had no idea what to expect. Real estate for me was generating or getting started in something that was going to generate a second source of income for me. So I already had a full-time job. I already was a full-time single mom and pet mom and all that kind of stuff. So I joined a local brokerage because it was near my house. It was near where I lived. And I felt like if I needed support or to pop in an office to have some questions, I just felt like they were within close reach. So it
Mhm.
was convenient for me at that time. But at the start of COVID, I didn't know what to expect. We were getting all sorts of notifications from our state board about how to show houses during this time, when not to show houses, social distancing. And I think there were some people who maybe had been in real estate 20, 30, 40 years, older generations that were a little bit more scared and they just shut down because no one really knew what, COVID was going to do. But me being brand new to real estate, I was more aggressive and ready to get started and ready to take
Mhm.
advantage of the opportunities that other agents were turning down. So I started getting random calls from people that I didn't know that were not in my sphere of influence. They were literally just looking agents up online and asking if I was showing houses. So me just eager to get started, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm showing houses, but we did it a little creative, and of course, we did have to wear the mask. And I would unlock a home and go in, turn on all the lights, wipe down doorknobs and switches and spray Lysol. And I would actually leave and let the clients go in and pretty
Wow.
much walk around the home. So before they went in, I'd give them a rundown. We're here. Here's your 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,600 square feet. Here are some features to look out for. And then I would give them that MLS sheet with some of the stats and specs on there, let them go in the home, and I would stay outside. Now, I think the funny part about it is when your client's inside a home and they have a question and then they yell your name, and you're standing at the front door and you're yelling back and forth because you're trying to see a property, but then stay, your social distance feet apart.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. But it also made things a little lighter. I think it took away the formalities of, showing homes, and the clients were very grateful that, you came out and you did show them. While some people were just curious as to what was out there in the market, there were actually people who really didn't need to make a move during that time. So they were afraid that, they wouldn't be able to, or they wouldn't find, a realtor that was willing to help them throughout that time. But I made it work, and if I had to change the experience, I wouldn't. I even did what some realtors say is a huge red flag, and that was show houses to people who were not pre-approved. But they reached out, with the objective, pretty much the proposition of saying, "Hey, I know it's COVID, things have to be slow, and I know I'm not supposed to look at homes. I'm not pre-approved, but if I find a home with A, B, and C, I have some money saved, my credit's good. I think I'd be willing to make the move now. It would be easier because kids are in homeschool and I'm working from home and things of that nature." So I went for it. Once again, I was new, I was eager to generate business, and I had trust in these clients because some of them I actually didn't know personally, and I knew that they seemed to be financially responsible people.
Mhm.
Used my greatest judge of character and said, "Let's do it," because I'm a person, I always feel like sometimes there's still a lot to learn. So I was a new agent, and even though I was showing potential clients a home without a pre-approval, for me, it was my way of learning neighborhoods that I was unfamiliar with and
Okay.
really seeing what was out there on the market, for 350,000 and what's out there for 250 and what's out there for 5. So I just said, okay, it's going to be a little time invested, but at least I'll get something out of it as well. And luckily, those clients ended up buying houses. So
Wow.
it's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things now that I hear people always say, no pre-approval, like no showings. But I can't count how many clients I've had that were not pre-approved.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went ahead and, had a little faith in them and to help them out, because then you also have to realize you could have someone who's pre-approved and that deal can fall apart in the next
Mm-hmm.
30 days, you know? So you did that for what? And I think that everyone has to start from somewhere,
Okay.
and even if they're not able to buy right now, but let them see what's out there. It gives you the time to build that relationship with them and answer some
Mm-hmm.
questions and maybe motivate them. And if they're not ready, then maybe they know what homework they have to go do, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll go do the research and make the proper phone calls, and they'll start their journey on getting prepared.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. That is so interesting. Like especially in the time of 2020 when everyone's freaking out and it's like, I hear different things from different agents all the time. Some that are like COVID was the absolute worst thing for them, and others where it's like I thrived in COVID. And so it's super interesting to hear different perspectives. And obviously, like you said, everyone's saying, "Oh, don't Wendy, don't do this, don't do that. Don't show homes before they're pre-approved." What was kind of like going through your mind, and people are telling you don't do this, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it anyway. What were you kind of thinking?
Well, I think I've always sort of been a rebel, like when I have something in my mind, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. And I'm also a very strong believer in having a very positive, forward moving mind. You're gonna want to improve, and you can hire someone to do it. You can look things up on YouTube.
My whole speaker system just disconnected. Wow. Okay, that is quite interesting. I'm back. I apologize for my computer malfunctioning. Please
That's
continue.
okay.
I'm back.
Okay, so I forgot what were we talking about? Oh, I was saying that
You being a
I
rebel.
like to, yeah, I've been a rebel in a lot of things, and I've done things my way. And when I have my mind set on something, I'm very forward moving with that. And I think I pass that on to my clients because so many people have so much doubt when they start a real estate transaction. And, I always say the transaction is not complicated, it's people that make it complicated.
Hmm.
And if you're on the buyer or the selling side, you're the client and you know what you need to do, focus on what you need to do and what your needs are. Because once you start bringing other people into your situation and you start giving them the floor to have an opinion, they're going to
Hmm.
have an opinion and it's going to have all sorts of thoughts. So I try to really just, focus on the clients and say, hey, this is what you can do to this home. This is what we're looking for when we're walking through. We're looking for to make sure there's a solid foundation. We're making sure all major components are working. And I find out from them, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something turnkey to get in here and live? Or are you looking for something that you want to be able to customize and make improvements to? Every now and then you find someone that says, no, I want a little project. I want the opportunity to make it mine. You
Hmm.
have others who say, I don't want to do anything. I just want to come in here and live. So I really just try to focus on the client and what they want and what their needs are, and
Yeah.
try not to get, off track from that. Because I feel like if you welcome distractions and you entertain too many of the ideas that have nothing to do with, what's in front of you, your
Hmm.
client will become distracted and confused.
Okay.
So I just try to stay focused.
So like putting the client's priorities first, like, hey, this is kind of like this is what we're looking for. What are we trying to do here and trying to accommodate to that? Is that kind of how that looks?
Yes, like when I show a client a house, I'm even asking them the questions, where do you work? Where do your
Hmm.
kids go to school? How old are your
Okay.
kids? You know,
Yeah.
like, are they going to be switching schools anytime soon? So that we can really take into consideration location. We're
Hmm.
making sure all those boxes check off today and they're going to check off 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And I think it makes them feel confident. That way, when they present the idea to a friend or a family member, hey, I'm buying this house, they already know. They've checked all their boxes. It's
Yeah.
within proximity from my child's school, it's within proximity from work. I'm going to go to the store over here. If it's set up for entertaining, I have this space. So I think sometimes you have to help your clients discover, the why they're buying, what it is that they want and what's the purpose for buying. After you buy, what is this going to do for you? You have to help them discover and unveil the benefits of becoming a homeowner, or even if they're selling. It's
Mhm.
are you gonna if you're especially those that are downsizing, there are benefits to homeowners who downsize because of course less of a home is usually less of a burden,
Yeah.
and you gotta help them realize you're gonna have some extra time, you're gonna have some extra funds. What do you wanna do with that? What are you gonna do with it? And I really just think that it's getting to know them, and getting to know, their needs, their wants, and letting them know that, hey, this transaction is gonna benefit you, and to focus on that.
Okay. So when you work with a new client, what is like the most important question that you guys try and answer? Like I know perhaps some people it's like location, other people it's like it needs to have a pool. Like what is the most important thing that you try and answer with your clients to find their dream home? Let's say if you're working with a buyer.
I usually ask them, what their needs are first. Like just focus like needs. How many bedrooms do you need? How many
Hmm.
bathrooms do you need? In terms of size, do you know what that feels? Do you know what 2,500 square feet feels like? Like, what
Hmm.
are you looking for in terms of size? And after we go over the needs, then I go into the wants. What do you want?
Okay.
What are your deal breakers? For some people, master primary bathroom is I need a separate tub and a shower. Some people don't care. Some people are like,
Yeah.
I need a bathtub. I do not want a primary bathroom that only has a shower. I need a tub. So
Yeah.
just finding out those little things, pantry. Do you need a pantry? Do you need a separate, laundry room versus laundry being in the hall? Like really just finding out those deal breakers because you can send dozens of MLS listings to a client all day,
Hmm.
but sometimes they don't really know how to go through them and they don't know how to read some of the details and some of the codes. And your client can pick out listings that you're going to schedule and have showings for, and they don't even check their boxes.
Yeah.
So that's something that I tend to do as well. I send my clients listings, but then I also go through the listings on my own because there's been many times where I've shown them whatever listings it was that they wanted to see. And then I said, okay, you didn't select this one, but I really want you to see this house. And then we'll go see this house and they'll say, oh my gosh, this is it. This is perfect. Like, how did you find my house and I couldn't find it? But it's I know how to maneuver a little bit in the MLS versus what they do. So
Hmm.
you can't really set your clients on autopilot. You have to be willing to invest the time and really get to know them, what they need, what they want, and be dedicated to helping them find just that.
So like finding their dream home by being like I guess a tool if you will, and like actually like putting your clients first and like doing the work with them. I know there's plenty of agents out there who just like want the deal to be done and have their clients do all the thing, but you're more on like the heavy end of like let me actually help and play an active role in like helping them find their dream home.
No, you have to. Sometimes I'm driving to the neighborhood to check it out for them before we go there, just to, see what's going on. Um, we know sometimes MLS photos are what I like to call glamour shots. They
Yep.
look amazing on a computer, and then you get there and you're like, oh wow, I didn't see this from the photo, and I didn't see that. So nothing's wrong with previewing a listing for a client.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have the time. And when you go through so many online, it's like online shopping. You're motivated, you're looking for something. And if you're looking for, a new microphone and you get on there and you start looking through hundreds of after 10 minutes, they're all going to look the same. You're not
Yeah.
really as focused. So it helps. You can't just leave the work up to them because that's not what they do on a daily, but this is what we do. So
Hmm.
it pays off. It pays to be a little more invested.
Okay. Yeah, and I imagine that probably, like you said, like it probably pays off in the long run as well. It's like these people will obviously respect you a lot more, and I imagine they would really enjoy the process of working with you. And then, when come family, friends have a home, it's like, well, Wendy was really, really kind and caring and went over the top. And it's like, how does that kind of come back around in the future, or has it, I guess is a better question.
Oh, well, it definitely does because I have worked with literally families where I have like, had 3 and 4 transactions. I'm actually working with a client right now and I out of a home from, that was a condo that he moved into a home and I sold his condo. I sold him his home. Then a month later, it was my mom wants to downsize,
Hmm.
but because of how the deal needs to be structured, we need to lease her home for a year, but we want to buy her a condo. And then when her home is done leasing, we want to put that home up for sale. And then I want to refinance my condo and help my son start a real estate portfolio, here. And it's just
Wow.
like transaction after transaction after transaction. And it's amazing. I mean, it's great to be able to work with someone. It's like,
Yeah.
within a short period of time, like you've worked and helped their entire family.
Yeah.
It's almost like an ongoing relationship. And sometimes you get into deals that they're referring you, to their friends and family because you're constantly talking to them like that.
Hmm.
And I've had another family where I met with someone at a pre-listing consultation and they weren't ready yet. And then that next week, I get a call from the wife's sister because she was looking to buy a home. She
Hmm.
bought the first home we saw because it was everything that
Wow.
she wanted. It was no reason for us to go look at anything else. And
Wow.
then months later, that couple was ready to sell that home. And then months later, they had inherited a home from their grandparents that they needed to sell. And it was like, we need to sell this home. And then someone else needed to relocate. So it's like you provide a really great experience for someone, they're going to want to use you again and again. And they're going to want to refer you to their friends and their family. And sometimes you just, at this point, you become more than a realtor. You're a family friend. It's,
Hmm.
I'm here if you have any questions. You're talking to them even after they moved in to the home or moved wherever they needed to move. And it's just ongoing from there.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's awesome. And I think that's something that applies in more than just real estate, like in life in general, like just going above and beyond to provide an exceptional service. I think there's a book called um what is it? It is I forget what the book name is. It's something hospitality. Un I can't think off the top of my head. It's something hospitality, and it talks about how, like, going above and beyond for the people that you're working with will pay more than money in the future, right? Like, I think helping somebody, I guess, buy their home in this case, it's like it's more than I guess just a transaction is like the biggest thing that somebody might ever do in their life, and it's like you get to impact that. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. I've always said when you're in a situation and you do absolutely everything you can, it has no choice but to work out.
I like that. I like that. That's a good quote. Maybe I gotta write that on my whiteboard. I have like a bunch
Yeah,
of
when you're
I have a
doing
bunch of quotes I like there.
when you any situation, if you are doing everything you can possibly do in your mind, like it's gonna work out in your favor, like it will. Like it has no choice but to work out.
No, I like that. That is no, that's a good one. Um, well, I don't wanna eat up too much time, but I have one last question I want to ask you.
Sure.
Obviously, like we've talked about plenty on this our last 20-ish minutes together. You started in one of the most, well, like I don't want to say the most, but one of the craziest times, especially for real estate, right? Is there I guess two things. Is there anything you would have done differently? And if not, what advice would you give to your younger self, especially back in COVID, that would help you out or change your mindset or anything like that?
So of course, so starting out in COVID and as a new agent, personally, I wasn't expecting to be as busy as what I was. So I sat back. I said, hey, my first 6 months is going to be on focusing on planning out my marketing approach and social media and email campaigns and things of that nature, reaching out to people within my sphere, letting them know what
Mhm.
I do. And it was going to be all about planning. But I ended up working and getting phone calls and having many successful deals. So I would say the one mistake I made was having the mindset in the beginning that I'm a new agent. Everyone knows I'm brand new, so they may not come to me. I may not be busy right now. And I would have just dove in because I do think, hey, that was a year, even though it was what it was, interest rates were low. And if I would have started out more aggressively saying, hello world, I'm Wendy Wiltz, I'm a real estate agent and I'm ready to help you,
Mhm.
and would have aggressively marketed and reached out to people within my sphere just a little bit more, like what would that have done for my business versus sitting
Mhm.
back? Not that sitting back didn't work, because I did, but I turned out to be busier than when I wasn't even really putting myself out there that much. So I think if I had to go back, I would say to my former self to have a little more confidence. And when you're starting out for something, go for it. Don't
Mhm.
be afraid to start. Don't have the mindset of people know you're new, because the
Mhm.
people that don't know you, the reality of it is they don't know that you're new.
Yeah, yeah,
Only the people who know you know that.
yeah, that's
So
fair.
that would be the thing that I would change. And I think it's helped me, you know, now, because it's it's helped me know that there's always going to be something going on. We can't foresee the future. We can't control things that happen in an environment. But at the end of the day, our role as a realtor doesn't change. We have to help people get through situational circumstances. And there's
Mhm.
always going to be a reason why someone needs to sell or someone needs to move. And just to try not to control so much of it and let some of it unfold, and just, focus more on your clients and the transactions and making things happen.
Wow, awesome. Awesome. Well, Wendy, that wraps up our time here. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing some advice with all of us. I appreciate our conversation. It's been a blast chatting with you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.